Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about anxiety. And I want to talk about three different ways that all work together, but three different things that we can do to tackle anxiety. So, the first one, which I think is probably the most important one, is about the word anxiety itself. You see, words are just signposts. They're just shortcuts that we use to try to explain something, an object, a situation, whatever. And the word anxiety doesn't have to mean what you were told it means. Let me give you an example. So, think about the symptoms that you experience in your body when you feel anxiety. Like maybe your heart is racing, or maybe your hands are getting clammy, or maybe your throat's getting a little bit tight. Those kind of things, those are just symptoms. Those are the things that are happening. Now, what you label it as is a story that you tell yourself. And maybe you got it from yourself, maybe you got it from someone else, probably. I mean, think about society. If you look up anxiety and symptoms of anxiety, I mean, it's all over the internet. You could find evidence of that everywhere. But that doesn't mean you have to keep believing that. You can change your belief. So there's something else that causes a lot of those same symptoms, and that's when you're really, really excited. So you literally can start to feel the same symptoms. You can start to feel anxiety, and you can start to tell yourself, oh wait, I'm just excited. This is excitement, right? And you may be saying like, okay, but I'm not excited, Mary. I'm worried. There's things that could go wrong, and I'm worried about them. I'm anxious about them. I'm not excited. How am I supposed to lie to myself and tell myself I'm excited? Well, that's a good question. And what I would say is that, one, your anxiety is probably about something in the future. I mean, we very rarely have anxiety about something that's happened right this very moment. We just deal with it. Something that happens and we deal with it in the moment. Our anxiety is usually our projection of the future. So if we look at what are our thoughts that are creating this anxiety, what are we thinking about right now? Okay, so we may be thinking about this situation that's in the future. And more often than not, we have anxiety about a change. I mean, if everything just stays the same, even keel, you're not really going to have anxiety. Like, you can grasp that, right? Like, you're not going to get all worked up over just keeping things mellow and the same. So there's probably a change coming up. And what happens is your body, when you feel those symptoms of anxiety, your body is literally just, it's moving blood around away from like the organs that you don't need to prepare for a change, like your digestive tract. You don't need that for something that's changing, something that's coming up, something that you'll have to face, right? Your blood will literally move to the organs that you may need for something big, something exciting. So, say you have anxiety about getting up and speaking in front of people. Well, your body's just moving to your muscles and to the right organs to get you pumped up and ready to go. And that's it. That's all it is. It's just your body's way of helping you. It's doing a service for you. But our mind gets in the way, and our mind says this is bad. Where bad is just a label. It's just a label that you tell yourself. Or you could just say, all right, thank you, body. Now I know that I'm ready. Now I'm ready to take on this change, whatever it is. So think about that as we go through the next two things. So the first one was relabeling the word anxiety and what that means. The second thing is what we call fear setting. So you've probably heard of goal setting. And we're going to do the same thing with a fear. So you have this anxiety about this fear that's coming up. This something you're afraid of. And you can't tackle this thing that's in the future One, because it's not here, it's not now, it's not something you can deal with now. So you're making up these situations of what could happen and you're getting anxious about it. But two, if you don't paint out the details of what that fear is about, you also can't deal with it. You can't even deal with it when it comes. So, one, you can't deal with it now because it's not here, but when it actually comes here, if it ever does come here, what are you going to do? So, fear setting is about writing out the details of what that fear would be. So, let's say you are considering putting out applications for a new job, and it's giving you so much anxiety. I would ask you, what is the worst case scenario? What's the worst that could happen? And you may say, well, I may not get this job, or I may spend hours putting out applications and I may not get called. Okay. Yeah, that stinks, but really, what's the worst? Like, bottom of the bottom, what are you terrified of? Because if you don't get the job, then you're where you started from and you didn't really lose anything. So what's the worst? You may start thinking further and further. You're like, okay, well, the worst thing would be I'm putting out job applications and one of them contacts my current boss and they tell him that I'm looking for jobs and he fires me and I lose my job. Okay. Yeah, that'd be pretty bad. What would happen then? Well, I'd probably lose my house. I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's a pretty bad situation there. What would you do about it? What would be your first step? If you were in that position, I want you to think really start to brainstorm and think about what the worst case scenario could be. And then what would you do if you got crashed at the bottom? What would you do to build yourself up? And you may say, well, I'd have to move in with my parents. Okay. And then what? Well, I'd have to sell my house. Okay. Let's keep going. All right. And then I'd have to find another job. I'd have to, my parents live in a different city. I'd have to transfer schools. Okay. Keep writing it out. Write out exactly what you would need to do. And then the next step I would say is, okay, now let's figure out or make an estimate of the probability that would happen. You may be like, well, it's probably pretty unlikely. It may be like a 2 out of 10. Look at 1 through 10. Well, what's the probability that would happen? It's like, okay, you got that. So now we're saying there's a very low chance that this worst case scenario could happen. And then we have our plan for if it does happen. Now put that away. Don't focus on that. We needed you to write it out to get it out because your anxiety, those feelings that you're having are staying trapped in here and they're staying trapped up here. And by writing it down, you release it. Like this stuff really works. You put it on paper and you put it away. We don't want that anymore. Because step 3 is focusing on the best case scenario. So then I really, really want you to write it out. And guys, if you don't have any type of journal, if you don't have something, you need to get, this is like $1.50 at Walmart. This was $1.75 maybe, I don't remember, but very, very cheap. You need to be able to write things down. It's very important. And I'm gonna tell you why. Studies have shown, well, let me take a step back. If I told you that there was a simple way to increase, let's say, your income by 42%, would you do it? I would. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Okay. If I told you to do the exact same thing in order to increase your chances of achieving a goal that you have by 42%, would you do it? The fact is, most of us don't do it. And the thing that you need to do is writing it down. Studies have shown there's a 42% increase in your success of achieving whatever you want if you write it all down. So let me take you a step back. We wrote the worst case scenario, we put it away. We have our plan, we have our worst case scenario plan. And then we're going to focus on our best case scenario. So what happens if you get the job of your dreams? It's just amazing. You have so much opportunity. The people in the company are phenomenal. You have all this vacation time. You have all these amazing benefits. You're respected. You get to work from home if you want. Just best case scenario, write it all out. And what I want you to do is to take time every single day. You're going to write this in your journal, and you're going to take time every single day. Set an alarm on your phone for the same time every day. Spend 5 minutes, if that 3 minutes, I don't care, just a couple minutes reflecting on what that possibility would be for you. Start visualizing and start seeing it, because you writing it down and the time that you're going to spend reflecting on it every day is telling your subconscious that this is a possibility. This could happen for you. Because the reality is that most people don't even let themselves imagine the best case scenario. They don't think the best case scenario is an option, and so they don't even consider it. They don't even, allowing yourself to write it down is telling your subconscious it could happen. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys learned something. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, comment what you learned, subscribe to my channel. And if you want to go into one-on-one coaching with me where, we can really, wipe some of the limited beliefs that you have and, make an amazing future, then send me a message, reach out, and we will make it happen. Thanks, guys.